You think life is unfair? You think pain is a punishment? No, my dear, it is a path, a bridge, a transformation. Every struggle you face is not breaking you, it is shaping you. Every closed door is not rejection, it is redirection. Every betrayal, every hardship, every fall, it is not without reason. It is preparing you for something greater. But the question is, will you see it or will you resist it? Life has never been about comfort. No soul on this earth was born just to have an easy ride. Struggles, they are not accidents. They are divine interventions. You prayed for strength, didn't you? So God didn't give you comfort. He gave you challenges to make you strong. You prayed for wisdom, right? So He didn't give you answers. He gave you confusion so you could learn to seek. Think of a diamond. It doesn't shine unless it is cut. Think of gold. It doesn't become pure unless it is burned. So why do you think you can become the best version of yourself without struggle? Pain is not punishment. It is preparation. But most people don't see it that way. The moment life gets tough, the moment things don't go their way, they think, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? They cry, they complain, they curse their fate. But let me ask you, have you ever seen a warrior who became great without a battle? Have you ever seen a champion who won without struggle? Have you ever seen a tree that bore fruit without first standing through the storms? You think your pain is unfair. No, my dear, your pain is necessary. It is not here to break you. It is here to build you. The pain you feel today is shaping the person you are meant to become. Think about it. When do people change? When do they grow? Not when everything is easy. Not when life is soft and comfortable. Growth happens in discomfort. Strength is built in adversity. A diamond does not shine unless it is cut. Gold does not become pure unless it is put through fire. And how do you expect to become the best version of yourself without first being tested? Look at the caterpillar. If you saw it struggling inside the cocoon, you might feel bad for it. You might think, why should it suffer so much? But what you don't realize is that the struggle is necessary. If you try to help it, if you cut the cocoon open before the right time, the butterfly will never be able to fly. Its wings will remain weak because it never had the chance to struggle and grow strong. The same is true for you. Your foolishness bears strong and pulls us in the wrong direction. Your struggles are not there to destroy you. They are there to prepare you for something greater. Think about the people you admire, the ones who have achieved greatness, the ones who have risen above the rest. Do you think they got there by having an easy life? No. They were shaped by pain, by rejection, by failure. Every successful person has a story of struggle. Every great leader has walked through fire. You see the success, but do you see the suffering that came before it? Do you see the countless nights of doubt, the failures, the heartbreaks, the betrayals? They did not let their pain define them. They let it refine them. And what about you? You say life is unfair, but have you ever thought that maybe life is training you? Maybe every rejection you faced was God's way of redirecting you. Maybe every heartbreak was His way of redirecting you. Maybe every heartbreak was His way of protecting. Maybe every struggle was His way of strengthening you. But most people don't see it. They focus on the suffering, not the lesson. They focus on what they lost, not what they are gaining. They focus on the pain, but they forget the purpose. Have you ever gone to the gym? Have you ever lifted weights? The first time you do it, it hurts. Your muscles scream. Your body wants to give up. But if you push through the pain, what happens? You become stronger. You grow. Your body adapts. The pain was never there to weaken you. It was there to prepare you. Now imagine if you never worked out, if you never lifted anything heavy, you would remain weak. Your body would never grow. The same rule applies to life. If you never struggle, if you never go through hardship, you will remain weak. You will never discover your true strength. Look at a baby when it takes its first steps. It falls again and again. But have you ever seen a baby stop trying to walk just because it fell? No. It gets up, it tries again, it falls 100 times, but one day it walks. And once it walks, it never crawls again. What does that tell you? Falling is not failure, struggle is not suffering, pain is not punishment. It is part of the process. It is how we grow. But most people, they don't see it that way. They experience pain and they quit. they get rejected and they give up, they face failure and they stop trying. And that is why they never reach their potential, because they fear pain instead of embracing it. They see struggle as an enemy instead of a teacher. But the truth is, the most beautiful souls, the most powerful minds, the strongest spirits, they are not born from ease. They are forged in fire. Have you ever seen an artist sculpting a statue? He takes a block of stone, rough, imperfect, full of flaws, and then he begins to chip away at it. He strikes it again and again, breaking it, reshaping it, refining it. If that stone had feelings, it would say, "Why are you doing this to me? Why are you hurting me?" But the artist knows, he knows that with every strike, with every cut, he is not destroying the stone. He is revealing the masterpiece within. That is what life is doing to you. It is cutting away the parts of you that no longer serve you. It is breaking you down, not to hurt you, but to build you into something greater. So the next time you feel pain, the next time life pushes you down, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask, "What is this teaching me?" Because pain is not punishment. Pain is a signal that you are growing, a signal that something greater is coming, but only if you choose to see it. Every setback is a setup for something greater, but when people face setbacks, what do? They complain, they cry, they think life is unfair, they believe they are being punished, that fate is against them. But have they ever stopped to think, maybe this setback is not here to destroy them, but to prepare them? Maybe it is not the end, but the beginning of something far greater than they could ever imagine. Look at a bow and arrow. When you pull the arrow back, it feels like it is going in the wrong direction. It is moving backward, away from its target. But the more you pull it back, the farther it will fly. The tension, the resistance. It is necessary. If you don't pull the arrow back, it has no power. It cannot reach its target. Your setbacks are the same. They feel like you are being pulled backward, like life is dragging you in the wrong direction. But what if life is simply preparing to launch you forward? What if the more pressure you face, the greater your destiny? Most people don't see it this way. They see rejection as failure. They see obstacles as barriers. They think, "Why is this happening to me?" But look at history. Every great person, every successful individual has faced setbacks. The difference is they did not let those setbacks define them. They used them, they turned them into stepping stones. They saw the bigger picture. They understood that every challenge was setting them up for something greater. Take the story of Thomas Edison, the man who gave us the electric bulb. He failed not once, not twice, but over 1,000 times. Imagine that, 1,000 failures, 1,000 setbacks. If he had given up at the 999th failure, the world would still be in darkness, but he didn't. He understood that every failure was a lesson, every mistake was progress. When people called him a failure, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That is the mindset of champions. They don't see setbacks as endings, they see them as setups. And what about you? Have you ever been rejected? Have you ever tried something and failed? Have you ever lost something you thought you could never live without? At that moment, it felt like the end. It felt like life was against you. But look back. How many times has life taken something away from you only to give you something better? How many times has a closed door led you to an even greater opportunity? But in the moment of pain, you don't see it. You think it is a punishment when in reality, it is a redirection. Look at nature. A seed must be buried in darkness before it can sprout. It must break through the ground, push past the dirt, and reach for the sun. If the seed could speak, it would say, "Why am I being buried? Why am I in darkness?" But without that process, it would never become a tree. It would never bear fruit. The same applies to you. When you are in a dark place, when life has buried you under pressure, don't despair, because you are not being buried. You are being planted. And one day you will rise stronger than ever. Have you ever been fired from a job, rejected by someone you loved, lost a business deal you thought was your big break? In that moment, it felt like a disaster. But months later, maybe even years later, you look back and thought, "Thank God that happened." Maybe losing that job pushed you to start your own business. Maybe being rejected led you to someone who truly valued. And maybe that failure taught you lessons that made you 10 times stronger. But at the time, you couldn't see it. You were too focused on the pain to see the purpose. A setback is just a setup for something greater, but only if you choose to see it that way. The people who succeed in life are not the ones who never fail. They are the ones who failed but refuse to stay down. They are the ones who turn their pain into power. They are the ones who understand that rejection is simply redirection, that loss is just a lesson, that struggle is only shaping them for something bigger. Have you ever heard of Oprah Winfrey? She was fired from her first television job. They told her she wasn't good enough. They told her she didn't have what it takes. Imagine if she had believed them. Imagine if she had let that setback define her. But she didn't. She used it. She built something greater. Today, she is one of the most successful and influential people in the world. Her setback set her up for something far beyond what you could have imagined. And what about Steve Jobs? He was fired from his own company, Apple, the company he created. Imagine that, being thrown out of the very thing you built. Most people would have broken down. They would have given up, but not him. He used that setback to learn, to grow, to evolve. And when he came back, he made Apple bigger than ever. His setback was a setup for something even greater. Now, look at your own life, the setbacks you have faced, the disappointments, the failures. What if they were not the end of your story, but the beginning of something incredible? What if every rejection was God's way of saying, I have something better for you? What if every closed door was protecting you from something that was not meant for you? What if instead of seeing your struggles as punishments, you started seeing them as preparations? Most people don't realize this until it's too late. They spend years crying over what they lost, never realizing that life was making space for something better. They waste time mourning closed doors, never knowing that the right door was waiting all along. They see failure as defeat instead of a lesson. They see pain as suffering instead of strength. But you have the choice. You can let your setbacks define you, or you can use them to refine you. You can see obstacles as barriers, or you can see them as stepping stones. You can stay down when life knocks you down, or you can rise stronger than ever. Because every setback is not the end of the road. It is just a bend in the road. It is not a wall stopping you. It is a bridge leading you to something greater. But only if you choose to see it that way. God doesn't give you what you want. He gives you what you need to grow. But most people don't understand this. They pray for success, but life gives them struggle. They ask for love, but they experience heartbreak. They beg for peace, but they are thrown into chaos. And in those moments, they question everything. Why is this happening to me? Why is God not answering my prayers? Why does life keep testing me? But they don't realize what they are going through is not punishment, it is preparation. Imagine a child who wants to eat cake every single day. He cries for it, he demands it, he believes he should have it because he wants it. But his mother refuses. She knows that giving him cake every day will ruin his health. He may not understand it now, but she does. She doesn't give him what he wants, she gives him what he needs. And years later, when he is strong and healthy, he will understand that her refusal was not cruelty, it was love. Now apply this to your life. How many times have you wanted something so badly only to be denied? How many times have you begged for a certain outcome only to experience the opposite? You thought you needed that job, but you got rejected. You thought that relationship was meant to last, but it ended. You thought life was supposed to be easy, but it kept throwing obstacles your way. But what if all of it was happening for a reason? What if life wasn't denying you, but directing you? What if God wasn't ignoring you, but guiding you? You ask for strength, but do you expect it to just appear? Strength is not something you are given. It is something you build. And how do you build it? Through struggle, through difficulty, through pain. A person who has never faced challenges can never be strong. They will be weak, untested, fragile. But the person who has fought battles, who has fallen and risen again, who has walked through fire and survived, that person is unshakable. And that is what life does to you. It doesn't hand you strength. It puts you in situations that force you to grow strong. Look at the story of a butterfly. When a caterpillar is inside its cocoon, it must struggle to break free. That struggle is necessary. If you try to help it, if you cut open the cocoon to make it easier, the butterfly will never develop strong wings. It will never fly. The struggle is not a punishment, it is a requirement. The same goes for you. You pray for freedom, but life gives you struggles, not to break you, but to make you strong enough to fly. Think about a blacksmith forging a sword. The metal must go through fire. It must be beaten, shaped, and refined before it becomes something powerful. Without fire, it remains weak. Without the hammer, it remains incomplete. You are the same. Life puts you through fire not to burn you, but to forge you. It strikes you not to hurt you, but to shape you. You ask for wisdom, but do you expect it to be handed to you? Wisdom does not come from books. It comes from experience. It comes from mistakes, from failures, from moments where you had to figure things out on your own. A person who has never made a mistake will never be truly wise. It is the ones who have fallen, who have learned from their errors, who have faced consequences and grown from them. Those are the ones who carry true wisdom. You ask for patience, but do you think patience is something that can be given? No, patience is something that is built. And the only way to build it is through waiting, through frustration, through moments where everything seems delayed, where nothing happens on your timeline. Those moments teach you patience in ways that nothing else can. Look at a farmer. He plants a seed and waits. He cannot rush the process. He cannot force the sun to shine faster or the rain to fall on demand. He must trust the timing. He must have faith. And one day, the seed grows into a strong tree. But if he had dug it up every day, checking to see if it was growing, he would have killed it. Growth takes time, and so does your journey. You ask for love, but what if life first teaches you loneliness? Not to punish you, but to prepare you. Because if you do not learn how to be happy alone, you will never truly be happy with someone else. If you do not learn to love yourself, you will always seek love in the wrong places. So life gives you solitude, not to break you, but to teach you that your worth is not dependent on anyone else. You ask for success, but do you think success comes without failure? Every successful person has failed, not once, but many times. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the process. Life will test you. It will push you to your limits. It will break you down so that you can build yourself up. Because when you earn success after struggle, it is real, it is lasting. But if success were handed to you without effort, you would never appreciate it, you would never grow from it, and you would never be strong enough to hold on to it. You ask for happiness, but do you think happiness is something that can be given? No. Happiness is not in things, it is not in money, it is not in other people. Happiness is something you create from within. And how do you learn to create it? By facing sadness, by experiencing hardship, by walking through dark times and realizing that true happiness comes from how you choose to see life, not from what life gives you. Every difficult moment in your life is not a roadblock, but a stepping stone. Every challenge is not an obstacle, but an opportunity. Every time you feel like you are being denied what you want, remind yourself, maybe what you want is not what you need. Maybe life is preparing you for something far greater than you could ever imagine. Maybe God is not giving you what you ask for because He is giving you something far better. But you must trust. You must be patient. And above all, you must be willing to grow. The strongest souls have endured the hardest trials. But when you are in the middle of those trials, it doesn't feel like you are becoming stronger. It feels like you are breaking. It feels like everything is against you. It feels like life is testing you beyond what you can handle. And that is when most people give up. That is when most people think, maybe I am not meant for greatness. Maybe I am not strong enough. Maybe this pain is proof that I am failing. But what if I told you the very thing you think is breaking you is actually shaping you? Look at the mountains. They are not formed in a day. They are carved by time, by storms, by the relentless force of nature. Every earthquake, every storm, every challenge they face makes them even more unshakable. The strongest souls are like that. They are not born strong. They become strong through the storms they survive. Every struggle, every heartbreak, every betrayal, every failure, it is not destroying you. It is chiseling you into the person you are meant to be. People say they want to be strong, but do they understand what strength truly is? Strength is not something that appears overnight. It is something you earn. It is something you build. And the only way to build it is to go through situations that test you, that stretch you, that make you question everything. The strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. Without the fire, it remains weak. Without the pressure, it remains ordinary. But when it is placed in the flames, when it is beaten and shaped and tested, it becomes unbreakable. That is exactly what life does to you. Think about a diamond. It starts as nothing more than a piece of coal. Nothing special, nothing remarkable. but it is placed under immense pressure deep in the earth for thousands of years, and only through that pressure does it become something priceless. If it had avoided the pressure, it would have remained just coal. The same is true for you. If you run from your struggles, if you avoid hardship, if you refuse to endure difficulty, you remain the same. You never grow. But if you embrace the process, if you withstand the pressure, if you refuse to break, one day you will shine like a diamond. Look at the greatest people in history. Not one of them had an easy path. They were not handed success. They were not given greatness. They fought for it. They suffered for it. They were rejected. They were doubted. They were broken down again and again. But they refused to stay down. They refused to let their struggles define them. And because of that, they became legends. The strongest souls have the hardest paths, because the only way to be great is to walk through fire and not be burned. A warrior is not made on the battlefield. A warrior is made in the moments of suffering, in the moments of struggle, in the moments when they feel like giving up, but choose to stand tall anyway. Strength is not about having an easy life. Strength is about facing challenges and choosing to rise above them. It is about walking through darkness and refusing to lose your light. It is about falling 100 times and standing up 101. There is a story of a man who wanted to be a great fighter. He went to the best master and asked to be trained. The master told him, if you want to be great, you must first learn to endure pain. So every day the master made him fight stronger opponents. Every day he was knocked down. Every day he left bruised and exhausted. And he started to wonder, is this really making me stronger, or is it just breaking me? But what he didn't realize was that every time he got back up, he was getting stronger. Every time he endured pain, his body was adapting. Every time he refused to quit, his spirit was growing unshakable. And one day, he stepped into the ring with the strongest opponent of all. And he won. Not because he was born strong, but because he had trained himself to endure. Life is the same way. The struggles you are facing now may not make sense to you. They may feel unfair. They may feel unbearable. But what if these struggles are the very thing that is making you who you are meant to be? What if every hardship is shaping you into the strongest version of yourself? Think about the tree that stands alone in the middle of a storm. The winds try to break it. The rain tries to drown it. The lightning tries to burn it, but the tree does not fall. And because of that, its roots grow deeper, its trunk grows stronger, its branches reach higher. A tree that never faces storms will always be weak. A person who never faces struggles will always be fragile. There is a reason why some people rise above their circumstances while others. It is not about luck. It is not about privilege. It is about endurance. It is about refusing to give up, even when everything tells you to quit. The strongest souls are not the ones who have had the easiest lives. They are the ones who have suffered and still chose to keep going. They are the ones who have been knocked down and still chose to stand up. They are the ones who faced their worst moments and still chose to believe in something greater. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not talent. It is not intelligence. It is not even opportunity. It is resilience. It is the willingness to keep fighting when the world tells you to give up. It is the decision to turn pain into power. It is the ability to say, this trial will not break me, it will make me. Most people think that suffering is a sign they are failing. But what if suffering is a sign that you are being prepared for something greater? What if your trials are shaping you for a destiny bigger than you can imagine? The strongest souls are not the ones who are protected from hardship. They are the ones who walked through it, who faced it, who embraced it, and came out on the other side stronger than ever. Your struggles are your greatest teachers. But the problem is, most people don't want to learn from them. They want to escape them. They want to run away, to numb the pain, to distract themselves with temporary comforts. They see struggle as something unfair, something unnecessary, something that life should not throw their way. But what if I told you that every struggle you face is a lesson? That every difficulty is a disguised opportunity? That every pain, every hardship, every disappointment is shaping you in ways you cannot even comprehend? Think about a child learning to walk. The child falls again and again. If If the child gave up after the first fall, they would never learn to stand. If they feared falling, they would never take another step. But the child does not see falling as failure. They see it as part of the process. And that is exactly what struggle is, part of the process of becoming stronger, wiser, and more powerful than ever before. People often say they want wisdom, they want strength, they want success. But do they understand what it takes to get there? You don't gain wisdom by reading about life in a book. You don't gain strength by sitting in comfort. You don't achieve success by avoiding difficulty. Everything that makes you better, everything that elevates you, everything that transforms you comes through struggle. Look at the greatest minds, the most successful people, the strongest warriors. They did not get there because life was easy. They got there because life tested them. And instead of breaking, they chose to learn. A person who has never faced failure does not know the true meaning of resilience. A person who has never been hurt does not understand the depth of human emotion. A person who has never been alone does not know the value of true connection. Struggles are not punishments. They are lessons. They are teachers guiding you towards becoming the person you were meant to be. Look at the butterfly. Before it can fly, it must fight its way out of the cocoon. It must struggle. And in that struggle, its wings gain strength. If you were to cut the cocoon open and free the butterfly without letting it struggle, you would not be helping it. You would be destroying it. Because without the struggle, the wings remain weak. Without the struggle, it will never fly. This is how life works. When you try to avoid struggle, when you try to take shortcuts, you rob yourself of the strength that comes from the fight. Imagine a man who wants to become the greatest boxer in the world. He enters the ring and expects to win every fight easily. But what does he learn from easy fights? Nothing. It is only when he faces an opponent who knocks him down, who forces him to push beyond his limits, who makes him question if he can keep going. That is when he truly learns. That is when he discovers what he is made of. Every punch he takes is teaching him something. Every time he falls and gets back up, he is becoming stronger. The struggle is his teacher. Life is no different. Every setback, every rejection, every loss is teaching you something. It is teaching you patience when things don't go your way. It is teaching you resilience when people doubt you. It is teaching you self-reliance when you're left alone. The problem is most people don't see the lesson. They see the pain. They see the frustration. They see the struggle. But they do not see that their struggles are molding them into the person they are meant to become. Look at the strongest trees. Their roots run deep, not because they were planted in perfect conditions, but because they endured storms. They were beaten by the wind, tested by the rain, shaken by the forces of nature, and yet they did not fall. Instead, they grew stronger. The deeper the struggle, the deeper the roots. The same is true for you. If you never faced hardship, if you were never challenged, you would remain shallow. But because of your struggles, because of the storms you have endured, you have depth, you have wisdom, you have strength that cannot be shaken. Think about the most valuable lessons in your life. Did they come from moments of comfort or did they come from moments of hardship? Did they come from success or did they come from failure? The truth is, you learn more from your darkest times than from your brightest moments. You learn more from the people who hurt you than from those who always agreed with you. You learn more from rejection than from acceptance. You learn more from loss than from gain. Your struggles are your teachers, but only if you are willing to learn. Some people go through struggle and become bitter. Others go through struggle and become better. What is the difference? Perspective. The ones who become better do not ask, why is this happening to me? They ask, what is this teaching me? They do not waste time blaming the world. They focus on finding the lesson. They do not see themselves as victims. They see themselves as students of life, constantly learning, constantly evolving, constantly growing. There is a story of a man who lost everything. His business failed. His friends abandoned him. His health declined. He sat in despair, wondering why life was so cruel. One day he met a wise old teacher who asked him, what is the greatest lesson you have learned from all your struggles? The man thought for a moment and said, that I can survive. The teacher smiled and said, then you have already won, because that is what struggle teaches you. It shows you that you are stronger than you think. It proves to you that no matter how many times you are knocked down, you can rise again. It reveals to you a power within that you never knew existed. Most people pray for an easy life, but the wise ones do not pray for ease. They pray for strength. They do not ask for the path to be clear. They ask for the wisdom to navigate it. They do not seek to avoid struggles. They seek to learn from them because they know that struggle is not something to be feared. It is something to be embraced. It is the greatest teacher, the greatest guide, the greatest force of transformation. Life is unpredictable. One moment everything seems to be going your way, and the next you're hit with something that shakes you to your core. It's human nature to ask, why me, when life feels unfair, when pain strikes, when betrayal cuts deep, when everything you worked for crumbles before your eyes. That question echoes in your mind. Why is this happening to me? But what if that is the wrong question? What if the real question you should be asking is, what is this teaching me? Every challenge, every setback, every moment of suffering is not an attack on you. It is a lesson designed to shape you. The problem is that most people don't want to learn. They just want relief. They want the pain to go away. They want life to be easy. But ease doesn't build strength. Comfort doesn't create warriors. The most powerful people in history didn't rise because life was kind to them. They rose because they stopped wasting time asking, why me? And instead asked, what can I learn from this? Think about a student in a classroom. If a teacher gives them a difficult problem to solve, the student has two choices. Complain about how hard it is or figure out the answer. The ones who complain, who resist, who say, this is unfair, they don't learn. But the ones who sit down, struggle through it, push their minds to understand, they walk away wiser, stronger, better prepared for the next challenge. Life is the same. Every difficulty you face is a problem waiting to be solved. It is a question waiting to be answered. And it is not there to break you. It is there to teach you. Look at the most successful people. Do you think they got there because everything was handed to them? No, they faced rejection, failure, loss. They had doors slammed in their faces. They were told they weren't good enough. But instead of asking, why me, they asked, what can I take from this? How can this make me better? And that mindset changed everything. A man loses his job and falls into depression, wondering why life is so cruel. Another man loses his job and asks himself, what can I do differently? What opportunity is hidden in this? One man stays stuck. The other man moves forward. Two people experience the same storm, but only one learns to dance in the rain. Think about an athlete training for a championship. If their coach makes them run miles every morning, lift heavy weights, and push their bodies to the limit, they could easily say, why me? Why do I have to suffer? But the ones who understand the process don't complain. They embrace the struggle. They know that every drop of sweat is making them faster. Every sore muscle is making them stronger. Every difficult day is shaping them into a champion. Life is your coach. It will push you. It will test you. It will demand more from you than you think you can give. And when it does, you can waste your breath asking, why me? Or you can rise up and say, teach me. Make me stronger. Show me what I need to learn. That shift in mindset changes everything. It turns pain into power. It turns obstacles into stepping stones. It turns suffering into wisdom. There is a story of a woman who lost everything. Her marriage fell apart. Her finances collapsed. And she felt like she had nowhere to go. She spent months drowning in self-pity, asking, why me? But one day she looked in the mirror and realized that the question was keeping her stuck. So she changed it. Instead of asking why, she asked, what can I learn from this? She started seeing her pain as a teacher, her heartbreak as a lesson, her struggles as preparation. And with that shift, she found strength she never knew she had. Imagine you're standing in the rain. Instead of running for cover, you choose to stand still and let it soak you. Most people will look at you and say, why don't you move? Why don't you escape? But what if you realize that the rain is cleansing you? What if you understand that every drop is washing away the weakness, the doubt, the fear? What if, instead of running, you choose to embrace it? That is what happens when you stop asking, why me, and start asking, what is this teaching me? A heartbroken person can either drown in sorrow or learn what they deserve. A failed entrepreneur can either give up or use the failure as a blueprint for success. A person abandoned by friends can either become bitter or learn to enjoy their own company. Life gives you the choice. You can see yourself as a victim, or you can see yourself as a student. Victims stay trapped, students evolve. Every challenge is a mirror. It shows you who you truly are. It shows you how much patience you have, how much strength you carry, how much wisdom you have gained. But if all you do is complain, if all you do is resist, you will never see the lesson. You will never grow. The most powerful people in this world are not those who had easy lives. They are the ones who were knocked down 1,000 times and still found a reason to rise. They are the ones who turned pain into purpose, suffering into strength, obstacles into opportunities. And do you know what they all had in common? They stopped asking, why me? And started asking, what is this teaching me? Rejection feels like a punch to the gut. It's that heavy silence after you poured your heart out. It's the job you didn't get, the love that wasn't returned, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers. In that moment, it feels like loss, like something was stolen from you. But what if rejection is not a loss at all? What if it is divine protection? What if it is the universe clearing the path, removing what is not meant for you, redirecting you towards something greater? Think of a child reaching for a flame, fascinated by its glow. The parent pulls the child's hand away and the child cries, feeling the sting of rejection, but the parent knows something the child does not. Touching the flame would have burned them. The rejection was not cruelty, it was protection. How many times in life do we cry over things that were never meant to be ours in the first place? Rejection is not meant to break you. It is meant to redirect you. When a door slams shut, it is not the end. It is the universe whispering, not this one. I have something better. But in that moment, we don't see the bigger picture. We only see the pain. We only see the closed door. We waste time banging on it, begging it to open, questioning why it had to close. But what if you turned around? What if you realized that there is another door just a few steps away, wide open, waiting for you to walk through? A person loses the love of their life and feels like their world is ending. But years later, they meet someone who treats them in a way they never knew they deserved. A person gets rejected from their dream job and feels like a failure. But months later, they get an offer for something even bigger, something that aligns with their soul. A person's plans fall apart and they feel lost. But later they realize that the failure pushed them toward a new path, one that was always meant for them. Every rejection is a blessing in disguise, but only if you trust the process. Only if you stop fighting what is being removed from your life. Imagine trying to hold on to something that is being pulled away from you. Your hands will bleed from clinging to something that is no longer meant to be yours. But if you let go, if you surrender, you will finally have empty hands ready to receive something better. Look at nature. A tree doesn't cry when the leaves fall. It trusts that new leaves will grow in their place. A river doesn't stop flowing when it hits a rock. It finds another path. The universe works in the same way. Nothing is ever truly lost. It is only transformed. What you think is rejection is often redirection. What you think is failure is often preparation. Think of the most successful people in the world. Do you think they never faced rejection? No, they faced it more than anyone else. The difference is they didn't let it define them. They didn't sit in self-pity. They didn't question their worth. They kept going. They understood that rejection is part of the journey. Every no is just a step toward the right yes. A writer gets rejected by 30 publishers before their book becomes a bestseller. An actor is told they're not good enough only to later become a global icon. An entrepreneur is laughed at for their ideas only to build an empire that changes the world. If they had stopped at the first rejection, they would have never made it. The rejection wasn't a dead end. It was a test. It was a lesson. It was protection. How many times have you begged for something only to later realize it was never what you truly needed? How many times have you cried over a rejection only to later be grateful that it didn't work out? There is a higher intelligence at play, guiding you even when you can't see it. But you must trust. You must have faith that what is meant for you will never reject you. And what rejects you was never meant for you. Imagine walking through life with this mindset. Never fearing rejection again. Never letting it steal your joy. Never letting it shake your worth. Imagine seeing every closed door as a blessing. Imagine understanding that every no is just clearing the way for something greater. That kind of mindset is unshakable. That kind of mindset turns pain into power. That kind of mindset is unstoppable. When life pushes you down, it can feel like you are being buried. The weight of pain, failure, rejection, and uncertainty can feel suffocating, as if you are trapped in a dark place with no way out. But what if you are not buried at all? What if you are planted? What if everything you are going through is not meant to destroy you, but to grow you? What if the darkness is not a grave, but the soil from which you will rise? Think about a seed. When it is planted in the ground, it is covered in darkness. It is pressed down, hidden beneath the earth, away from the sunlight. But the seed does not panic. The seed does not fear. The seed understands that in order to grow, it must first go through the darkness. It must break apart. It must push through resistance. It must fight its way upward. Only then does it reach the surface. Only then does it transform into what it was always meant to be. Life works the same way. When you feel like you have hit rock bottom, when everything seems to be falling apart, you have two choices. You can believe that you are buried, that life is over, that you are stuck. Or you can believe that you are planted, that this is your beginning, that this is the foundation for something greater. The pain you are going through is not there to keep you down. It is there to push you forward. It is there to make you stronger. A person loses their job and feels like their future has been ripped away, but that loss forces them to develop new skills, to take risks, to build something of their own. Later they look back and realize that what they thought was a setback was actually a setup for something greater. They were never buried, they were planted. A woman goes through heartbreak and feels like she will never love again. But the pain teaches her self-worth. It teaches her boundaries. It teaches her that love is not about begging to be chosen, but about choosing herself first. And when she least expects it, the right love enters her life, a love that is aligned, a love that is true. She was never buried. She was planted. A student fails an exam and believes they are a failure. But that failure pushes them to work harder, to understand discipline, to develop resilience. Later, they become more successful than they ever imagined. Not because they never failed, but because they learned how to rise. They were never buried. They were planted. Look at nature. The tallest trees were once small seeds buried beneath the ground. The most beautiful flowers had to push through layers of dirt before they could bloom. Every storm, every harsh wind, every challenge only made them stronger. The same is true for you. The struggles you face are not there to destroy you. They are there to shape you. They are there to prepare you for what is coming next. A man works tirelessly for years, building a business, chasing a dream. He invests everything, his time, his energy, his faith. But just when success is within reach, challenges come rushing in. Financial struggles, failures, doubts. He feels like quitting. But if he holds on, if he keeps moving forward despite the obstacles, he will see that all the struggle, all the pain was just the final test before his breakthrough. A woman prays for love, for companionship, for someone to see her worth. But life keeps throwing heartbreaks at her, rejection after rejection. She starts to believe she is unworthy, that love is not meant for her. But what she does not realize is that every failed relationship, every disappointment was preparing her for the right one. If she holds on, if she trusts the journey, she will see that she was never being denied. She was being prepared for something greater than she imagined. Look at nature. The moment before dawn is the darkest part of the night. The moment before a butterfly emerges is when the cocoon feels like a prison. The moment before a seed breaks through the soil is when it faces the most resistance. The closer you are to your breakthrough, the harder the battle gets. But the breakthrough will only come to those who refuse to quit. How many people have given up just before success? How many dreams have died because someone could not hold on a little longer? The world does not remember those who almost made it. It remembers those who refused to back down, those who pushed through every setback, those who understood that pain is temporary but quitting lasts forever. You have come too far to quit now. You have endured too much to turn back. Whatever battle you are facing, whatever hardship is standing in your way, remind yourself, this is not the end. Decide to be, this is the test. And if you pass it, if you refuse to quit, you will see that everything you have been struggling for, everything you have been fighting for, was always within reach. The enemy fights the hardest when he knows you are about to win. Life pushes the hardest when it knows you are about to rise. Your mind will tell you to quit. Your body will beg you to stop. But your soul knows the truth. Keep going, keep fighting, keep believing. Because the moment you refuse to quit is the moment you step into everything that was meant for you. There comes a time in every warrior's journey when the battle feels never ending, when the weight of the world crushes your spirit, when every road is blocked, when every prayer seems unheard. And in that moment, most people fall. Most people surrender. But you're not most people. You are not here by accident. You are not struggling without purpose. The fire in your soul is not meant to be extinguished. The very fact that life is testing you so brutally is proof that you are meant for something greater. Because life does not break those who are insignificant. Life does not challenge those who are ordinary. The fiercest battles are always given to the strongest warriors. History remembers those who refused to quit, those who kept walking through the storm even when they couldn't see the sun, the ones who fell 1,000 times but got back up 1,001. And if you think your struggles are the end, you're wrong. Your struggles are just the beginning of your rise. No great story was ever written without suffering. No legend was ever made without pain. No empire was ever built without battles. So tell me, are you going to let this be the end of your story? Or will you fight until you rewrite your destiny? You have already survived your worst days. Think about it. You have endured heartbreak, rejection, failure, doubt, and pain, and yet you are still standing. You are still breathing. That means you have already defeated everything that was meant to destroy you. So why would you stop now? Why would you let this moment define you? Champions are not made in comfort. Queens are not crowned in ease. Kings are not built in luxury. They are made in fire. They are forged through storms. They are created through every moment of suffering that tried to break them. Pain is temporary. Struggles are temporary. But quitting, that lasts forever. Giving up is the only way to guarantee failure. But if you push forward, if you take one more step, one more breath, one more fight, you will realize that everything you have been seeking is just beyond this moment of struggle. Success is not for the chosen few. It is for the ones who refuse to back down. The ones who wake up every morning ready to fight again. The ones who don't let their failures define them, but instead let them shape their greatness. Do you think Michael Jordan became the greatest because he never lost a game? Do you think Oprah built an empire because life was easy for her? Do you think every world leader, every billionaire, every artist who changed history did it without failure, without rejection, without suffering? No. The difference between them and everyone else is that they never quit. They never let the pain stop them. They never let their struggles break them, and neither should you. The moment you decide that nothing will break you is the moment the universe starts moving things in your favor. The moment you refuse to give up is the moment your destiny begins to shift. This is your moment, right here, right now. The world is waiting to see if you will rise or if you will fall. The universe is watching to see if you will break or if you will bend and come back stronger. Your future self is waiting for you on the other side of this battle. So tell me, will you stop? Or will you fight? Will you surrender or will you conquer? Because the choice is yours. Always has been